My name is MatthewT25. How many of you have a younger sibling? Now, I'm sure we can all relate to our parents punishing our siblings in a much different way than they would have done us. And we tell them they've grown soft because now all they do is give them a stern talking to and a wag of a finger instead of the spanking they would have given us. But our parents don't care about how we think they should be punished because they know better. Not all kids need to be punished the same way. For me, a good old spanking did the trick, but for my older brother, taking something of his away was much more effective. The same thing can be said for our relationship with God. Our opinions cannot shape God's actions. They just can't. Similar with how what Jonah felt towards the Ninevites didn't change how God dealt with them. Turn to Jonah chapter 4, and we'll go a bit deeper into just exactly what I mean. Starting in verse 1, "But to Jonah this seemed very wrong, and he became angry. He prayed to the Lord, 'Isn't this what I said, Lord, when I was still at home? That is what I tried to forestall by fleeing to Tarshish. I knew that you are a gracious and compassionate God, slow to anger and abounding in love, a God who relents from sending calamity. Now, Lord, take away my life, for it is better for me to die than to live.'" Jonah's complaining to God, saying, "God, you're too merciful. These Ninevites, they don't deserve your mercy. If you're going to save them, kill me, because I couldn't stand seeing them saved." But God had other plans. One thing that we have to realize is that what God asked Jonah to do was completely unheard of. No prophet had gone to another country and preached them being saved. He probably expected God to do to Nineveh what he did to Sodom and Gomorrah. But God had other plans. What Jonah felt about the Assyrians isn't what God felt about them at all. And this surprised Jonah. Just like Jonah, our feelings and our opinions don't always line up with God's, because we are full of hate, full of pride, and to put it into simple terms, we're human. What we have to realize is that as Christians, we're called to do God's will, and that means putting aside our hate and our pride and doing what God asks of us, because no matter how much we complain, God is not going to change his mind. If you go further down, in verse 6, "Then the Lord God provided a leafy plant and made it grow up over Jonah, to give shade for his head to ease his discomfort. And Jonah was very happy about the plant. But at dawn the next day, God provided a worm which chewed the plant so that it withered. When the sun rose, God provided a scorching east wind, and the sun blazed on Jonah's head so that he grew faint. He wanted to die and said, 'It would be better for me to die than to live.' But God said to Jonah, 'Is it right for you to be angry about the plant?' 'It is,' he said, 'and I am so angry I wish I were dead.' But the Lord said, 'You have been concerned about this plant, though you did not tend it or make it grow. It sprang up overnight and died overnight. And should I not have the same concern for the great city of Nineveh, in which there are more than 120,000 people who cannot tell their right hand from their left, and also many animals?" Jonah probably has this mindset that because he's an Israelite and because he's a prophet of God, that he's special and entitled to God's mercy. So when God provides this plant for shade and takes it away, he's angry. But God uses this as an opportunity to show Jonah his fault. He says to Jonah, "Jonah, the Israelites are not my only people. The whole world is my people." You see, Jonah forgot that God doesn't work for him or for the Israelites, just like God doesn't work for us. We work for him. As Christians, we have to realize we aren't entitled to the blessings without end. Like with Jonah, if God doesn't get our attention with blessings, he will with curses. So we have to understand that because we work for God, we cannot control it. I want to change gears a little bit and look at an example of who we should be like. If you turn to Luke chapter 22, starting in verse 39, "Jesus went out as usual to the Mount of Olives, and his disciples followed him. On reaching the place, he said to them, 'Pray that you will not fall into temptation.' He withdrew about a stone's throw beyond them, knelt down and prayed, 'Father, if you are willing, take this cup from me, yet not my will, but yours be done.' An angel from heaven appeared to him and strengthened him, and being in anguish he prayed more earnestly, and his sweat was like drops of blood falling to the ground." Jesus himself didn't want to die, so much so that he sweated blood. But he didn't let his feelings and his personal opinions about not wanting to die on the cross change his calling. He didn't run away in the opposite direction like Jonah did. He faced his responsibility and his duty head on. And so should we. This morning, I challenge you to push your feelings and opinions aside and realize that God's will is greater than any human emotion.